Hello everyone and welcome back to the Jim Kroft podcast. Many years ago, I was commissioned to film a short documentary about one of Germany's great musical events, the Reeperbahn Festival. Now the party started before we even left Berlin, and soon I found myself on a train on the way to Hamburg, filming the bands as they played in each carriage. Amidst the raucousness, there was one band that I was particularly captivated by, and after their set made sure to check in and say hi. I always remember the kindness and welcome given in that short moment by Jan and Joseph, and after learning their band was called Amistat, have kept in touch with them ever since. During the years in between, I was, like many others, a proud friend to witness not just their emergence from the underground, but to see their music find a worldwide audience with sold-out tours, millions of plays on Spotify, and a following on Instagram now approaching 700,000. Some months ago, I invited the guys onto the podcast and was thrilled when they said they'd make time to drop in before their Berlin show at Huxley's. What followed was one of the great conversations of my life. Despite knowing Jan and Joseph a little from afar, there was still so much I wanted to learn about their musical journey, about why mental health is such an important topic for them, and to quiz them about everything from their approach to creativity, songwriting, social media, business, and how to progress in the modern music industry. The story they told has already had a massive influence on how I'm approaching my own creative journey. And I feel so privileged that Amistat chose this podcast not only to share their own stories in a way that they've not done before, but also to pass on so many insights to inspire other creatives. So a couple of final things. If there's something you'd relate to, please drop a message or a comment. Me and the guys would love to hear from you. And second, if you'd like to get a behind the scenes look at the podcast, which includes clips from Amistat's Huxley show later in the day and my personal takeaways, you can find it on my YouTube channel through the link below. Thank you for being here. To Jan and to Joseph, I'm your host Jim Kroft. So if you're ready, let's dive in. It is an absolute pleasure today to be welcoming Amistat onto the podcast. Welcome, guys.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Now, these lunatics are coming on their tour day in Berlin. So how many gigs down this year are you?
Oh, that's actually a very good question.
Probably 20?
Yeah.
20 gigs already. 20
Yeah.
gigs. That's a small tour for you, right?
That's a good start.
So and how big is the mission ahead?
I mean, this tour ends in 5 shows, but then we're just gonna continue touring until September, and it's gonna be full on this year.
So, what do you do when there's this endlessness of it? How do you deal with that psychologically? Because you guys are, you're way down the road already.
I tell you what, you got to be very strict. We try to exercise every second day. No drinking, no alcohol. Lots of good food, lots of sleep. Mm-hmm. Meditating, just having a routine, especially when you're just on the road constantly, you got to be very strict. Otherwise, it goes downhill fast.
So no alcohol even on off days?
Yes, Joseph sometimes enjoys a little red wine or a Sauv Blanc here and there. Hey?
Sauv Blanc,
he's giving away trade secrets.
but I think Jan full on gave up drinking, like even just 1 or 2 here and there, because it doesn't do him any good. And I have one here, there, but I generally don't really drink much now.
It's inspiring for me. The first 3 months of this year, I was off the alcohol, and it made a massive impact on my life. Being Scottish, I probably like it a little bit too much to give it up full time, but it was absolutely amazing. And I said for a little while, I went into sort of monk mode, that sort of spirit where you're really getting totally abstinent, no travel, no alcohol, and the rest of it. Have you guys ever sort of used monk mode when you're trying to do a big writing push or something?
I think, especially when you I started meditating maybe 3 years ago, and do journaling and lots of reading, and I feel like the moment you go within and you stop numbing yourself with whatever it is, I feel like you start to feel and see things so much in a different way, and that's, you can tell in writing, songwriting, and just the way you live, I think. So I don't know when it happened, but over time I feel like everything gets more intense, and I enjoy it. I don't want to escape that anymore. I just want to. Sometimes, I spoke to many people about it and say, the lows are lower, but the highs are higher, and I like that. You know, it's not just like this anymore, but it's like that, and that's fine. You got to embrace it. But that's So
it pronounces the emotions.
Yes, totally.
I know that, and later on we'll come to this. 'Cause I'm very interested in the mental health and this aspect on some of your more recent work, and very much admire the substance and the things you're talking about. And I think it's something that people feel with you. One of the things that I find with, when you're feeling things deeper, like you said, it's that expanse of the emotions. And I actually, how is that for you when you go like deep into the dark? Do you find like you have a deeper control when you go into those basements, when you're not drinking, and you're actually able to feel that more?
Yeah, totally. Because I think it's like you just gotta look within, and then the things you see and feel sometimes can be very, very scary. But the moment you then get back out of it, the next time you go to those places, you're like, that's fine. I've been there and I know how to deal with it. It's not going to ruin everything for me because I know I'm strong enough to get out of it. And it's not like that it doesn't come anymore, but you just learn how to deal with it better.
And if I'm right in saying, Joseph, a moment in the sun is actually very much based on, and that's your most recent work,
yes.
is actually sort of based out of some type of ruptures or experiences that I don't know if you both went through or individually or together?
It was more like my experience with anxiety and panic attacks. Like, I think two years ago, that's when I was really confronted for the first time with a lot of these things. And it was a very dark time for me. I didn't know how to handle it, and it was very scary. But then when you switch and you're like, hey, I want to improve things. Why is this happening? You start to try to understand what's going on. Everything sort of changes, and I flipped into a very inspiring phase in my life. And that's when I started writing a lot about these things. Not just Moment in the Sun. I would say the whole EP is basically about that.
Just to say, like, thank you for having just that basic courage, that spirit to just say, right, we just started the podcast, I ask a direct question, you go straight into it. It's just something that it moves me very, very deeply. As someone, so in my 20s, I was having panic attacks on a daily session, and eventually got myself into therapy. And I would say that my life was actually saved by this wonderful therapist who had a moustache as wonderful as both of you guys, and his name was Bruce. And I remember many years later, he sort of leaned in, and we'd sort of become friends in our own right. After my therapy was completed, and he said to me, said, Jim, if you hadn't come here when you did, you had the options of being dead in jail or in the madhouse. So for me, just to have that you are willing to go into it, especially in the, as people who are in the public eye, and it's, we need people who've got the courage to really talk about that. And if I may ask, Jan, what was there an event and that triggered the anxiety or the panic? Was it something that you can nail down that actually triggered it in your life?
I think it was that time where life started to get very busy, and we started touring nonstop, and we started driving everything ourselves, so we were in the car every day driving, social media, just like constantly on social media. I didn't know how to handle it. And then just the gigs, giving, and planning ahead 1 or 2 years, and everything got too much. And I remember that one point, that one day in the car when it just happened, and it's like a switch flipped, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't understand this. And it just got worse and worse and worse for a time. But then I started reaching out to different people and started, doing lots of energy work and meditation. And in those moments, you just have these two options. You're like, okay, I'm just not going to do anything about it, or I'm going to understand why and then improve and make sure it doesn't ever happen again. And that fear drives you. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And
that's what makes me now just push every day to have a routine and to be healthy, and not fall back into these old patterns. And that fear. But I think if you don't reach that moment of fear or whatever it is, then you might not have that driving force, and that's fine. But for me, that's what happened.
I think something that I come across in both your music, and I think is there just as a universal feeling, like within your music, is just this, and I see it very much in the lyrics, which are so about noticing and grounding and being within your being, or the attempt to be within your being, and then noticing when you are within your being. It's very, very moved, like actually going deeper and forensically into the lyrics. And it's interesting what you said about, you know, wanting to never go back there again, because in my journey with anxiety, I went so far into it that there was a lot of running for a long time. In fact, I'd say that even to begin with, when I went to therapy to start with, it was actually about running. But one of the things that's been, that I never could have known, knowing as damaged as I was back then, was that there was somewhere else entirely within myself that I could get to, that it broke down beyond the anxiety into a sort of deeper root, where where the anxiety, to the point where it doesn't exist anymore. And it's not that I can't feel anxious, but it's like the root cause of that anxiety has been sort of rooted out. I sort of like think of it a bit like in the terms of sort of Hermann Hesse, of sort of breaking down, you know, beyond into that sort of river of life. And I never, ever, ever in my life would have thought that such a space could be available to me when I was in that. Joseph, when Jan was going through that, were you actually in the car with him when he had that anxiety attack?
Not sure if I was there. I was there when he did have too much coffee, and that's when it triggers it as well. But I don't think I was. Was I there?
Yeah, you were there, because we're driving to Switzerland.
Did you keep it covered?
I just didn't understand it at the start. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I remember looking at the guys, but it was like, it's such a strange moment where...
But could you say something? Or was it literally disassociation?
Yeah. It was like, I was struggling for years before, just even to go into tunnels and stuff, you know, closed spaces. And I realized, something's going on here. I was like, maybe I'm just too stressed. And there were days where it was fine, and there was days where I was like, I don't feel... But that moment, it was completely different. It was like, I got punched. And I got thrown out of my own body, and I didn't know what's going on. I thought maybe I'm tired, but it just didn't go away. Weeks, months, and it just stayed the same. I was like, there's something not right, but I couldn't, how to communicate it in a moment. I don't know.
It brings it back to me, because I think, I sort of like, when I remember that time in my life, it was, people go, yeah, I had a panic attack. I'm like, it was like a panic decade. It was like an ongoing experience of terror and I don't know how other to express it than terror. And that's why, also it's why I'm so moved by your work, because it's such an important theme in my life. Because I never thought that there could, when you're within that space, you have no sense that there could be any type of potential other than being exactly in that space where you are. But how's it been, if you don't mind me just going on a little bit further, how's it been for you since then? Because it sounds like you've found your rhythms and your disciplines, and do you still have, does the anxiety still surface sometimes?
100%.
It does?
Yeah. I feel it when I don't sleep well, when I have stress. I don't expect it to ever be gone, but for me now, I see it as a reminder, hey, Jan, just watch out, you might be going in the wrong direction again. It's like a warning call. And that's fine. And I embrace and I say, thank you, body, or whatever, for telling me right now. And then I just need to go back into my good routine,
Thank you for sharing, man. Of course. How has it been for you? You boys are twins, and it's how's it been to be, and you work so close and in such close proximity, and I imagine you're closer than most twins could even be, because you're just so bound in your journey together. So how has that been for you, Joseph, sort of navigating that side and adapting? What's your journey been there? Because it's very hard for loved ones, which is why I ask. So
you mean in terms of when Jan was going through that?
Yeah, just because it's like I would struggle to reach out, and then when I did, people wouldn't know how to deal with it, and yet they'd be there how they could. So, I mean,
I still, I have a lot of people around me that talk about this, and anxiety and panic attacks and dealing with it on a daily basis, and I haven't experienced it myself. Yeah. So it's hard to grasp how deep or it affects people. even when Jan was going through it, I'm like, Jan, what's happening? Talk to me. And he's like, I don't know what's happening. I just don't feel myself. I was like, well, how does that feel? He's like, I just don't feel myself. I can't feel myself. And then I couldn't really do anything. And it was weird because like we had to cancel a few shows and I didn't know if this was going to go on for months or weeks. So it was weird. Like I was just like if you need anything, let me know. But I haven't been there, so I'm the wrong person to help. You know?
Well, I think what you just said, it's like, talk to me, that is enough. That thing, and knowing someone that you know is there is everything. Just simply to have someone there. I mean, my sort of horror during that period of my life is that I was so scared of it's so awful to look back. I was so scared of being sectioned that I wouldn't tell anyone, which compounded and made things worse. And the thing that I find so mesmerizing about your sharing today is that, you know, when I think of Amistat in the car and I think of seeing you guys, it's like, well, all the feelings are there, but you're not obviously presenting, you know, that particular feeling. But yet somehow, I mean, people don't get drawn to a band like they get drawn to you unless there's something very fucking real inside that feeling. And I had no idea. I mean, so I will, you know, we met so many years ago, which was when you guys were playing on a train on the way up to the Reeperbahn Festival. And I just remember I was doing the filming, I juggle with film and photography and music, and I just stopped and I was like, who the hell are these guys? And I always remember it because right after that moment, there was such... that you took such a moment with me just as a guy going past, which is why I felt the sense of kinship, and I think that's something that you guys evoke. But I find it very powerful, this sort of kaleidoscope that's within what you're presenting musically, because people are sort of identifying from so many sort of different sort of areas subjectively, and So guys, let's just wind it back a little bit, because I want to go back into your origin story, if you like. And so, first of all, like, when did you guys actually pick up the guitar for the first time, or the music for the first time? To take it back to the source, if you like.
So I wanted to start playing guitar when I was 6 years old. I just told my parents, like, I don't know why, but I want to play.
Where did it come from?
I have no idea. My parents are not really into music. I think our grandfather was an opera singer. Maybe that's somewhere. But definitely started when I was very young. And I was listening to a lot of soundtrack music when I was young and falling asleep every night to like Gladiator and Pearl Harbor music. And that just moved me so much. You know, I was in tears every night, not because I was sad, because it just moved me and I loved it. Straight away, music was always very... And then we grew up listening to Cat Stevens and the Bee Gees, and Dad used to always... you know, have all these folk sort of Bob Dylan things, and I don't know. We just grew up like that. Joseph was more into sports always, and I think I was more into the sort of music. But then with 12 years, he started singing, and we was like, oh, that sounds quite good. So he was singing.
You just started singing along?
Yeah, I don't know why. I just started singing, and straight away started harmonizing.
Wow!
Because I think we heard someone harmonize on YouTube, and I was like, what is that? What did they do? I didn't even know that it's called harmonizing. And then we did it, and we're like, this is crazy. But when we hit certain things together, it's like one voice, crazy. So two bleed into one, and it's crazy. Yeah.
When you harmonize now, do you do it by finding the notes together? At what point because, you know, sometimes when you get an angular harmony, it's, you know, it can be sort of tricky to find the right thing, or do you literally just busk it out together?
Yeah, that's it.
That's beautiful.
I have no idea what we do. I'll be honest, like, we're not very...
I love that.
I can't read whatever, music, whatever. I didn't study it, you know, I just do what sounds good. When he starts singing... I just sing on top whatever sounds good, you know? I don't know what it is. Because some people do the third harmony. I was like, I have no idea. I'm just going to do what sounds good.
Wow, that's so rock and roll. I love that. And did you busk before your move to Australia, or did that come with Australia? No. How old were you when you went to Australia? Sorry, forgive me.
19.
We did 19. We did work and travel 1 year. And Joseph decided to stay in Australia. And I moved back to Germany, and we spent a year apart. And that's when we realized, like, let's let's just make this happen. You know, there's a long story. Joseph saw some buskers in Melbourne and called me, and he's like, Jan, let's just move here for a year and just try to live off music for 1 year, just on the street, and see what happens.
What did you feel? What did you say?
And back then I was watching a lot of Passenger and Stu Larsen and all these folk artists who started the busking, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, something's telling me, just go, just do it.
I was telling you to go, so.
Also him. And I just sold everything within a week. I was like, that's it, I'm going.
Man.
Took one guitar, flew to Australia, and that's it. Straight on the streets.
And straight on the streets. And so how long were you on the streets as buskers, so to speak, then? Like, and not just in Australia, but just all together. How long was that experience?
Six, 7 years.
6, 7 years. And was that for Australia? And then what other places did you busk?
Oh, we came to Europe
once a year to tour and play some shows. We did a bit of busking here and there, Hamburg, Berlin,
Dublin,
but nothing major. Like mostly
just Australia.
For me, it's so fascinating because my sort of like glory days as a musician. Glory days, it was, you know, I'm a little bit older than you, and I was kind of coming up through of course, I mean, busking goes back right into back into time, but it was much more about the club circuit. What you did is you went out and you played as many damn shows as you possibly could, which is the same as, you know, you guys do anyway. So we're always out, and it was only sort of like, it was actually sort of like years later that I felt like the busking scene started to sort of expand, and so for me it's like I've always had this curiosity. And one of the strange things, so we've got a mutual friend in Mr. Mighty Ruben Stone, who said such a beautiful story. I'm just going to remind you of this story because I was speaking with Ruben. We were also talking about mental health. I was, you know, he's such a powerhouse. I had no idea that he'd gone through all this stuff in the pandemic, and I always remember on the podcast, and he said, Amistat saved my life, and I was like, what? And he talked about this moment when you guys came into his life. Do you recollect this moment?
Yeah.
When we first met him.
When the moment where he felt that you literally saved his life.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
I think we were just texting on Messenger or something, and just like brief, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I haven't played music much, been working for my dad or something. And he said he's really anxious with whatever was going on back then, and he sort of doesn't think that he's going to play music anymore. And I was like, that's bad, man, because I love his music, and I mean, there's people that are made for it, and he's one of them.
Right.
So then we just got connected, or we connected him with our booking agent, and I said, I think you guys could get along, and and then it happened, and now he's living in Berlin, I think. So it's great.
It's a unique. I mean, for me, it's like, so the strangest thing is I've kind of like, so I've been coming like full circle. So since I was the sort of apex of my musical life in terms of profession, I got onto EMI about 2012. And that was my lifelong dream up until that point. After 10 years to get onto a major label, had a really very short run at EMI because Universal came and gobbled it up. And ever since then, I've been juggling my music with photo and with filmmaking and documentary making, and actually that was how I met you guys, which was on the train. I was like, who the hell are these guys, and the rest of it. But the strange thing is that so music never left me. Like, part of the reason I do all the work is to kind of keep it going. But the strange thing is about that, why I'm so curious about the busking. So I'm like, I spoke to Ruben, this other wonderful guy called Dina's Home, and several other buskers that I've met locally. And the thing is, and this is a gateway onto the next part of the conversation, because I was like, one of my sort of frustrations as I've gone deeper into my professional life in terms of my filming and documentary work and photography is that I wouldn't say my musicianship has flatlined, but it's like I haven't had the sense that on the technical side, like when I look at you guys, I'm like, oh, damn you guys, you know, because I admire your playing so much, and you feel that fabric of just being out on the streets all the time, you know, just like living it all the time. Like, you know, I've lived it in a different way, because part of the reason I let something go was to carry it on. And of course, that's a sort of plight that many musicians feel. But the strange thing, the reason why I give you that miniature story is that I've been so inspired by the buskers. Like, I've got suddenly that fire to improve came back, and I was like, you know, how could I just do this outside, you know, sitting down, you know, doing your practice and the rest of it. And I've been thinking, man, I'm in my mid-40s. it might be time to start busking, baby. Like this.
It's never too late.
No, but that's the thing, and I just thought I'm gonna get. But that's a lovely thing. It's like, what is too late? Because so many of us live with limiting beliefs of that potential that could be or what we could be. So when it comes to like your lives, guys, I want to invert this question, because when I look at the dedication that you've had to the path and the discipline and the years and work and the thousands of gigs. I was going to say 100,000 gigs, but that's probably, maybe just, I have a tendency.
Felt like 100,000.
Yeah, I bet.
With the busking, sure, it's probably 100,000.
Yeah, let's call it 200. And did you, and there's this thing in the modern world, which is that you've got to niche down, you've got to focus on one thing, you got to let other stuff go in order to, really dial in on that thing that is your central thing. When I look at you guys online, I always feel like this sense of pride, as not for any sort of, reason, but other than that, I'm just like, I love seeing the development you've made. But has that focus come at other sacrifices? Perhaps this ties back in to some of the feelings that you had. I don't know, I don't want to presume, but I'm just wondering, because it's the opposite pain point that I've got, perhaps, you know what I mean?
If I think about it, there was no other option than this to make this work. 12 years now, to this year, it's been 12 years Amistat, and we had the biggest lows that I didn't even think this possible. But it was never an option that this is not going to work, and never an option to do something else. See? And I think if you find that within, then it doesn't matter what happens. You just go until it works, And if you quit, it's never going to work, And we would have done this till we're 80 if it doesn't work, because that's what we want. And I'm not saying that sometimes you gotta let things go if you feel like maybe I need to do something else. That's totally fine. Don't get too stiff and don't set your mind too. But for us, that's what was in our hearts. Like, this is what we're supposed to do here. And maybe that's gonna change one day, and I'll be the first one to say, no worries, thank you. But right now, it just feels like this is what we need to do. So we go no matter what. We just go.
And we said,
no matter what it costs.
And we sacrifice so everything, and still do.
Tell me about the nature of the sacrifice.
When we moved to Australia, you sacrifice. You're not around your family anymore. You're not around your friends anymore. You leave everyone behind. Your day-to-day life looks different financially. We couldn't, like, everyone was buying houses and having solids, and we wake up every day and we're worried, how are we gonna get food in our stomach? Why are we not around our family? Our sisters having kids. Why are we not around that to witness that? That's the sacrifices that we made every day, to be like, we're gonna be here in Australia until we do what we have to do, and then we move back. But then also friendships, we're just on the road constantly, so that's a big sacrifice. And then also mentally, stress, mental health, no routine. It's hard. It's like it looks great to the outside, and I don't always want to talk about the struggle, because everyone's struggling in some way.
This is a space to actually just, I think, not feel guilty. It helps people to actually say, this is how it was, because each of us has our struggles in life, and the only damn way that we find about it is just that sometimes have a space where we really can talk about it. So if you don't mind, let's let that go for a second, because I think this is, it's like what it takes to push something through to the level that you've taken it through, where you're living it every single day. I was in the famous Gold Watch. It's a studio that I know you guys are speaking
to.
Were
they yesterday?
Were you?
Yeah, we go yesterday.
That's amazing. I was speaking to Bob, who I've got deep love, who's also produced my work, and he was like, these guys, and he's like, they just never stop. And it's so interesting, this, the nature of the sacrifice, and if you think about sacrifice, you think about an altar, you think about blood, you think about the transition of the body on the being from one form into another, because it's like, if you think in a Christian sense, it's about resurrection, it's about passing through from one form into the other. And I found, like, on the mental health side, the part of the thing that was so profound for me was that the anxiety was also a gateway, because what I found was that the anxiety was coming out and you want to reject the anxiety, but I started to understand the anxiety as being something that was actually breaking down defenses, and the anxiety paradoxically had a form of health. It was an expression of health, and that it was tearing down mass I'd built up from so young. And then but the anxiety is also a consequence, because you are going from one thing to another, and then it's like you shed a skin. It's like, well, where the hell am I? And I'm wondering on the front with the social media, because when I met you guys, I remember it's like, in terms of like the musical scale, we were in a similar type of zone. And then I just remember like looking at awe as your star ascended, and it was just, it's been magnificent and so inspiring to all the rest of us in the scene, just to see like with lots of people are dedicated, but when you really see people like go through and then seize the moment, it's an incredible thing. So I want to just like have a little look at what that has been like, because you've already shared that one thing was very disorientating. What about the other side? What about the exciting side? What the hell's it like when it breaks out like that, man? Come on, tell the rest of us.
To be honest, it never really, like, we never look at it that way. Like, it's, I like, we speak about this a lot as well, and I think about it a lot as well. I'm like, like you don't see the wins. Like, it's just like you wake up and this worked great, or it didn't work. But I think we because it didn't work for so long, we just got rid of expectations, and also really celebrating the highs, or really reading into the lows. It's just like, great, we won, great, we lost. Doesn't matter. We just keep going and enjoy it. It's great, but it's not like we sit there. Sometimes it's overwhelming, of course, like playing to so many people now, that is still overwhelming, but it's all sort of, it's just a moment that goes so fast, and you just try to be present in the moment, but you cannot hold on to it. And we talk about it all the time on stage. It feels like a minute. And you're like, I can't believe we're halfway through set and last song. And you just want to sit there and hold on to the moment, but it's not possible. Yeah. And the more you try to make sense of that moment, the more you realize that it's not real, and the more it drags you somehow down. So we just say, hey, we're just going to be present and let it go and go through you. So it's so weird, but in a way it just is just the one moment, and everything is just one. It's bizarre.
It's beautifully expressed. At what point did you realize that your star was ascending, or that there was something going on other than what you'd known?
I think it's the tour we did in 22. Yeah.
The year started, obviously the world was a little crazy for 2 years. Yeah, we're not talking, let's not get into that. Yeah. And everything felt like, are we ever going to be able to do what we love again? And then coming just out of that, there was the start of 22. We all three of us, we went to a festival in Switzerland called Zermatt, Unplugged. And just arriving there and being able to play live music again after such a long time of not, I felt like something magical was happening that weekend. And I told the guys, I was like, I don't know what's going on. But then straight after that, we went on our own headline tour, and we sold out the whole tour. For the first time, it felt like we don't have to beg people to come, Wow. It's like something's going on. There was a shift.
Dream. Yeah.
And we're just so excited. We're driving ourselves, just us three in the bus, but that was like for the first time, I feel like there's something happening that's good.
And people singing our songs, which never happened.
Never happened,
And that's when I was like, something's happening. And it was huge. Like, I remember I was crying every day. Yeah. After the shows.
Wonderful.
Going off stage,
on
crying.
The show.
20 minutes. I stood there alone. It's like 12 years, not 12 years, maybe 8 or 9 years had come. You've been running against this wall, and you finally run it down, and you just stand there and you can't believe it. So it was just healing, so much healing, cleansing. It was insane. Like, just crying for days, but happy, joyous tears. It was just amazing. So that's when I felt like, something's happening. Yeah.
What do you think it was that triggered it, other than the fact that you'd been living the path and doing everything that you'd done? Do you feel that when you said you broke through the wall, do you think it was just the force of the water against the dam, or do you think there was a moment or a little something?
I tell you what, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. we moved back to Europe, which was very scary because we knew we're not going to be able to busk. We didn't have any contacts, So doing that step, that was very scary. I think that was the first step. We're like, let's move towards whatever we're most afraid of. Let's move towards that and trust our hearts. That was the first step. We started writing different music because we were in a different environment, different producers, different studios. Music changed. Then 2 years of the world's numb and doesn't know what's going on. Coming out of that, I think their hearts were ready to connect again with different things, with real things, not what's going on online, but we want to go out, we want to experience real things again. Yeah. So live concerts. I feel like different people, different environment, and everything started changing.
I think we really let something go in Australia. We left something there, which was the grind, the struggle, the learning, and then we're ready to apply it in the arena of life and just be like, the spotlight's on now. And we did believe, we started to believe that we can do it in a way we believed that we could in Australia, but there was no evidence. And when we moved away, we left that old self there and we started to be like, I think we can do this. In a way, it just... the mindset was different, and I think we started attracting it because we sent it out there. And in Australia, we weren't sending out the right stuff because we weren't ready and we needed to go through it.
To the musician out there who's struggling, who knows they've got that fire, there's that something in them, but they're not getting the evidence, they're not getting the feedback from the world, and they're in that moment, what's the Amistat advice? What do you say to that person?
Be true to yourself. Don't. There's gonna be a million people telling you what to do. Do what you know is right. Write that music that's from inside. If you fake it, if you try to be someone else, everyone's gonna feel it and it's not gonna work. Be yourself and just listen to yourself. Don't compare, learn from others, but do it your way, like Frankie says.
Well done. Yes, I did it my way.
Joseph, you give me a follow up from that. I want the full cosmological connection here.
That's perfect, and I really do believe in the power of believing, and you gotta believe in yourself, and it's you at the end of the day. You wake up, you go to bed alone, and it's your inner voice. If you believe it, that's all you need. And you will get there. I know that because we did it as well, and it was impossible to get to where we are now, and there's still miles to go, but I think you have to believe in it. If you believe in it, it's done. It's happened, but you got to believe in it. So work on a belief. Like Jan said, there's many things to do that, but you got to find that belief within you, otherwise you're done.
What did you do at your moment of greatest low in those 10 years when you felt like you had nothing to hold on to and you were very, very many years from home? Like, where did you draw your strength in those moments?
I think we came across the motivational speaking or motivational speakers by a friend. We were at this birthday party and he played this speech by Al Pacino from the movie, what's it called?
The football movie, right?
That one. And
Any Given Sunday.
That's a speech, brother.
Good. And we heard that and I'm like, what? First time that I really, like, I got drawn into that. I'm like, there's something so pure and powerful in that. And then we punched it into YouTube and all these motivational speeches came up. And then the motivational speakers like Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Eric Thompson, like all those. And then we binged that every single
Sometimes you need
day.
that.
I was listening to the shower this morning.
I got a tattoo.
Did you? What does it say?
It says either we heal as a team or we will die as individuals. And that's many times.
So
on the way to busking every day in the car, we would pump that speech. And it was like, it was in us now. It was us, you know. And when we're standing there in the rain, no money, nothing. It was like inch by inch, step to your goal. But, you know, we got to fight as a team. We got to believe in it and it's going to go. Bam. You know, we got to crawl out of hell.
Yeah.
So this is interesting, the metaphor you just said, right? Here's a challenge to you, right? Because I've got a love-hate relationship with this stuff, because in the shower this morning, I was like, going to get myself motivated, getting out, and I love it, and it gets my heart beating, and it gets me going. But on the other hand, I've got a sort of also an issue with hustle culture, because it's such a fixation on success and that which you do being that which you are, rather than I am who I am, not what I do. And so I'm one part of my heart is so with you, to the point where I listen to the same stuff and I use it and it's very useful. However, I think the world has got a little bit divorced from the other side, and I think that's something that I find and really resonate with you guys, because you seem to have this paradox between the focus and the fire and the lust and the pure motivation, but also finding a balance and, you know, having your rituals and your rhythms. What's your sense about where the world is with this hustle grind stuff? Because you feel like you're bringing a different type of voice to the party.
Yes, and I agree with everything you just said, because it's not just about the hustle and achieving all these things to be someone. I fully agree. I think what it's about is have your goals, have your dream, but have a balance to it. Don't sacrifice everything. Health is number one, and sharing life with the right people, enjoy life, give back, you know, don't take, just give back whatever that is, you know. And I think everyone has their part in this world. I believe that, and you don't have to struggle and sacrifice or just be in a bad space for years to get where you want to be. I fully agree. I think we need to let go of this mentality of it needs to be so hard,
punish yourself,
you know, and to reach what you want. I think it's that balance, and I think you can find that balance. Achieve your goals, but get there in a way that you still enjoy the journey. You can look back and be like, wow, that was tough, but it was great. I met so many good people. We've done beautiful things. We can share now our journey and help others with that. You know, I think that's that balance.
And I think it helps to know that when you get to the goal, it's not going to fill that void. It will not. It cannot. So the moment you strive towards the goal, but not with that desperation of then I'm going to be happy, then you're going to stop chasing it, because you achieved the goal and there's another thousands of goals you will set yourself.
No, it's very interesting, because I mean that's something that I've sort of found spiritually is getting to that point where to be okay with nothing and to I mean, I'm a freak, because I wake up and I listen to the hustle grind stuff in the shower, and I go to bed and I always listen to cosmological stuff going right back into time. It's all about the Big Bang, bang on about this stuff, but it's just that kind of sense that, you know, at the end we are returning to something. And for you guys, do you have a sense of what comes after?
Very interesting question.
Put you on the spot here, lads.
What comes after?
I think about it a lot, and I like to believe that there's something else waiting. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I don't think our journey stops after this, you know. What it looks like, I'm not sure, but I want to believe that it's something beautiful, and we're gonna do something else.
How do you reconcile with that sense of mortality? Is it something that is there still too much movement, or when you're within that noticing, like you are within the when I feel that moment in the songs, is it just allowing life to pass through you, or is there also a sense of brevity? Where are you at in that sort of psychological space, if you like?
I think letting it pass through you is perfect, and that's life, and that's life itself. I think it's just letting it pass and flow. The moment you hold on to something, you're stuck in the past. You can't sustain that. I think if you let it all flow, it'll never cease to flow. So that's life, and I think that's what's going to keep going. You know, you can't destroy energy. It's impossible. So it changes form. Just changes form. So we die, but whatever you call soul or whatever, it's there. We can't measure it or touch it, but I believe that goes on to be some other form. But you can't get rid of it. So it will inevitably go on to whatever it is, or we don't know.
Do you ever think about like, and I don't mean in a sort of paranoid way, but do you ever think about that sort of what if, about the sort of like limitation of time? The reason I ask is that sort of like it had two different ways. One was my mum's passing as a teenager, and then also very much during the pandemic, I was sort of so like, I got so lost in mortality that I sort of disappeared from society for really some time afterwards, and went out into the wild and sort of had that time, which actually incidentally ties back in to one of the lyrics that I love, which is a life is only real when shared, from Better Days. Banger, boys. What
Thank
a
you.
great, wow, man. And I'm going to read this aloud. Life is only real when shared. Oh, my father told my mother, or my mother told my father, we cannot not be together. Or my father told my mother, nothing will be here forever. So do you feel that sense of like, do you feel like you live your lives under that premise? Because I feel like you live so wholeheartedly, and I'm like, I feel you must have that sense.
Yeah, because our father almost died in a bad motorbike accident years ago. So that was the first time we were like, oh wow, this, like, it's, life can be fragile, and it can be taken away very quickly. So I do try to live with Joseph and say, hey, we have this life now. Let's just be here as much as we can, and not being scared of death, but just being aware. Like, we don't know what's gonna happen, so let's just make the most of now. You know.
What's a tattoo I got? I'm really into Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, and the ancient teachings. And there's this what is it called? This motto that they have, memento mori, do you know?
Yes.
Latin, which means remember that you're gonna die.
Yeah.
So I got that tattooed, like, I think after the tour where I felt everything's changing, somehow something told me to get it tattooed, and that's it. Remember that you're gonna die, and you use the time wisely, because we're not here forever. But don't be scared of it. Just be mindful, like, we're moving on. Just, we're not here forever.
And so what of love, guys, in terms of for a lot of people, it's very hard to coexist with another, even when you have that profound love. So I'm wondering, what would be, as people who are born as twins and who spend so much time together. I read in one of your interviews online that your sort of principle is absolute disciplined honesty. And I'm just wondering if you could expand on that, maybe just advise other people who are struggling with a partner or in a relationship, because it's, you know, it's something that all of us at any one time are struggling with someone. I'm struggling with Basti. Basti, by the way, is filming for the podcast. I'm not picking on a friend, by the way. My dear friend Basti. Sorry, guys.
I love that.
I think, like you said, discipline in any way, especially with yourself, and being honest at all times with the people in your life, which with your partner is so important. I think if you are 100% honest at all times, no matter if you know that you might be saying things that will hurt them, but you know that the truth is what you hold on to, and that's pinnacle. I think then you have something that can last for a long time, and something that gives you unconditionally, or you can give to unconditionally. So that discipline to at all times be 100% true to yourself and with everyone, regardless of how they feel. I think that's very important to us, and something that we hopefully reflect in our music as well. You know, talk about that, and talk about what goes on with us, and just be vulnerable and get that across without a filter. Yeah,
I love that, the discipline of honesty. That's beautifully phrased.
Because I feel like,
how the hell do you do it?
It's not easy.
Not the honesty. I was just meaning you guys. It's just it's so profound to me that you have the love of brothers, and I'm not putting you on a pedestal, because I bet it's hard when it's hard, but it's humbling, and I get it. That's why the discipline of honesty resonates, because you can get it, but you guys live it. You know?
I think it's also a huge amount of tolerance. So say everyone is allowed to see things differently. You know, I'm not here to tell you should believe in what I believe. No. Everyone can be and think what they want. Yeah, but let me also give me that space to think and believe in what I want. And the more you are honest to yourself and the more you live your life in a sense that you're truthful to yourself, you will be able to speak the truth to others. Yeah. If you know what you want and who you are, you're going to say no to people in a moment where it doesn't feel right to you. And if you're not used to that, if you live a life where you know you're not living up to your potential or whatever, you know, you're not going to be able to speak truly from your heart what you believe in. And I think that's going to keep getting worse or better. So I think the best thing you can do is learn about yourself, learn about what you want and who you are, and then express that in a very respectful way. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, very much.
And I think that's the steps to be in an environment where you have people who love you, respect you, but you also respect and love everyone. You know, that combination, that's what I learned for myself. And the moment you start lying to yourself, suppressing, everything sort of gets worse and you start attracting not the right things. But it's scary. It's so, that discipline of being honest, that at the start will be a lot of confrontation, you know, a lot of confrontation. It's so uncomfortable. It's like, someone just said something. Is that really what I believe? What am I doing? You know, like, why am I challenging this? Should I just agree? But I don't agree and I feel horrible. But if I start this, that's going to be confronting. Wow, you know,
what a thing life is. I mean, because I think, you know, you draw it out onto societal level now.
Yes.
And I often think about, you know, being adult is the capacity to be able to coexist with contradictory viewpoints at the same time, and to recognize that, you know, they clash and they converge and they mix and they merge, and that you have to deal with that. Whereas sort of nowadays we're so polarized because we grab onto our side as being representative of the right viewpoint. And, you know, of course, some of these issues seem so damn clear cut, and there's many things to be threatened by. But how do you see on a societal level that, because I love the fact that you guys are also very strong about the environment. How do you think we can make, and I know we're getting towards the end, but how do you think we can make an impactful impact on society as individuals?
I think education is one good point. Yeah, I think a lot of people are not bad in what they do, but I think they're just not aware enough, and that's fair enough. So maybe there needs to be a different way of presenting the issues, you know, to the world. First place, and then secondly, I think we need to stop pointing fingers at everyone saying, hey, you're doing this wrong and you did that. Just go within and say, what can I do to make little things better? Yeah, and that's it. Like, don't start pointing all the time, because no one wants to be told they're doing something wrong. No one. Give me an option or alternative. How can I improve something? And then I will do that in my way. But don't just force it. There's so much hatred out there. There's so much blame. No one wants that.
And Amistat means?
Friendship. Yeah.
Boys, would you give the honor of, like, maybe playing a little bit of a tune before we wrap it up?
Absolutely. We'll do better days for you.
Okay?
What? Shall we do that?
Please.
Yes. Come on. I'll get a guitar.
Because life is only real when shared.
Amen. Like, so what have we got? We have got a guitar.
Yeah. And can we get Dimitri play some violin on this, please? Yes. Done. Come on, push.
I thought Dimitri was just here with the costume.
I was getting to
all right, we've got Amistat in the house. Woo!
Let's do it. Oh, my mother told my father, life is only real when shared. And oh, my father told my mother, life is anything but fair. Oh, my mother told my father, we cannot not be together. Oh, my father told my mother, nothing will be here forever. You are the only life I know. You are the only life We are holding and holding and holding on. We're holding and holding and holding. Then we're hoping and hoping and hoping for better days to come. Oh, my mother held my brother. What will happen when we part? Oh, and oh, my brother held my mother and laid his hand upon her heart. Oh, you are the only life I know. You are the only life I know. We are holding and holding and holding on. We're holding and holding and holding. Then we're hoping and hoping and hoping for better days to come. We are holding and holding and holding on. We're holding and holding and holding. Then we're hoping and hoping and hoping for better days to come. Come on, Bush, take it away. And I come home, my mother told my father, love is only real when shared. Boys! Get here.
Thank you so
much for having us.